Christian metal star Tim Lambesis was recently convicted for hiring a hitman to kill his wife. He's in a Christian band, not very Christian thing to do, but don't worry, there's no contradiction there because he says, actually, I'm not a Christian at all. I'm an atheist playing in a Christian band, you see? Uh-oh. So, and he says, though, he's not the only one. What's really interesting about this particular case is that he says there are a ton of Christian bands with non-Christian members. When he was touring with his band called As I Lay Dying, he said the following: "We toured with more Christian bands who actually aren't Christians bands that are. In 12 years of touring with As I Lay Dying, I would say maybe 1 in 10 Christian bands we toured with were actually Christian bands." That's 9 out of 10, he says.
Yeah, so I like this story for a couple of reasons. One, look, if you're a real Christian out there, man, they think you're such a sucker. All the people, whether it's the politicians that are cheating on their wives. I remember Scott DeJarlais in Tennessee had at least 3 abortions combined with his wife and mistress that we know of. And he said, yeah, but we were in a tight spot, so obviously we had to do the abortion, right? He runs his pro-life. He thinks you're a sucker. All those politicians. Karl Rove made fun of Christian right people when he thought Vance McAllister, the kissing bandit, the congressman who was caught making out with one of his staffers when he ran on family values. I can go on all day long, right? These Christian bands, apparently 9 out of 10 of them aren't Christian at all. They're atheists, and they're like, suckers, give me your money. Oh yeah, Jesus rocks. I'm sure he does. Give me your money. They're playing you for a fool, and I guess that they think, well, if you'll believe what's in the Bible, you'll believe that this guy is a Christian, right? Yes.
Oh yes, of course. They already bought into that bullshit. Their bullshit detector is broken. This is the perfect. It's a scam. Why don't we do Christian news? We could fucking make $1 million.
Well, that's the 700 Club. Pat Robertson has made gazillions of dollars from the 700 Club. He heals people over the TV. I mean, he's been doing this for decades. He'd be like, oh, I feel an ankle broken in Tennessee. It's now no longer broken. Look, they're the easiest marks in the country. Right.
So you tell me he didn't fix my twitch? Because I used to have a twitch, and I just had to put my hand up to the thing, and he said heal, and I was healed. You telling me that didn't happen?
Yeah, I'm not sure that was Pat.
Does it work if you're watching the show like on a DVR?
That's a rerun?
Yes, it does.
That's really funny, and he has the miracle shakes, etc. But and then I'm also pissed at this guy because he only lets us know he's an atheist when he's busted for attempted murder. And then what are Christians going to say?
See, atheist.
Yeah, atheist. That's what happens. And he actually goes further because he says, well, once I stopped being a Christian, I thought, well, what's the point of not cheating on my wife? Because there's no more morals. You idiot! That's not the point of morals. But that's the thing. He actually was a Christian for a short period of time.
This guy talks like he's been brainwashed.
What do you mean?
He talks like he was a former really devout guy who believed something.
You think?
Yeah. He's got a lot of nonsense.
But he said, look, when he was going through this thing, right, like in the beginning, right, he said they gave me like 3 verses from the Bible and 3 paragraphs to make fun of atheists, what atheists believe. He's like, after reading those 3 paragraphs, I became an atheist. He's like, if this is the worst case scenario, that's still 1,000 times more logical than what's in the Bible, so I'm going to go to that side. But the thing is, he'd already been brainwashed, as Ben talked about, that you're supposed to fear God and you're supposed to fear hell and etc. So once he realized that wasn't the case and they took that away, he's like, oh, if I don't have to fear hell, I'll do whatever the hell I want. Which is not what atheists think.
No.
That's just what
But that's what people think atheists think, right?
That's what people convicted of murder think.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what's unfortunate.
Right. He thinks what he was taught to believe. He still believes about atheists what he was told when he was a devout Christian.
That's
like
right.
The first time I cheated on my wife, my interpretation of morality was now convenient for me. I felt less guilty if I decided, well, marriage isn't a real thing because Christianity isn't real, God isn't real. Therefore, marriage is just a stupid piece of paper with the government. Like everything he's thinking. It's still backwards.
Yes, and it confirms to me that the people who are the most devout religious people are so because they have the fear center in their brain is excited more easily than us. And that was so what he's saying is I was a Christian because I was afraid of God.
That's right.
And as soon as he was only afraid because he wanted to save himself. So it's a selfish pursuit. It's not an unselfish love of God or your fellow man. So it's all about selfishness. And as soon as he wasn't afraid of God, well then why wouldn't I cheat on my wife? Well, because you're a dick if you cheat on your wife, because you'll hurt her feelings, because it's now being dishonest to her, you're wrecking the trust that she has, and you won't have a relationship anymore. That's why, and that's what atheists think. You don't have to be a Christian to understand why fidelity in your marriage can be a positive.
So atheists, you know, I mean, it's kind of a funny thing to say, but almost by definition, and obviously not the case because this guy calls himself an atheist, but are more moral than devoutly religious people of any religion, because they don't do it because they're afraid they're going to burn in hell. They're decent human beings because they're genuinely decent human beings. They think, I shouldn't hurt that person, right?
Yes.
I shouldn't hire a hitman to kill my ex-wife,
The
right?
only thing
I shouldn't do all these things because I want to be a decent guy, not because I fear that God will strike me down.